Oh, I forgot to put the graphic and the music on. We'll do it live.
We'll do it
Here,
live.
here.
That's why they call us the professionals.
Marcus brings the heat, no filter in sight. Jason's got the insights, always gets it right. Sean's the wild card with a laugh in the night. On FolkLOOR, they banter about the latest fight. FolkLOOR podcast, stories nonstop.
What is that noise, Sean? Is that you?
Am I doing?
Playing with the dongles.
Oh, the dongles.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of the FolkLOOR podcast. I'm Marcus and with me is Sean Tomlin and Jason Farley. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you guys.
That was a soft landing.
That was. I went too far on the volume bar too fast.
Right there.
It's not a lot of precision. It's not a lot of precision on this thing.
Hey, we're doing it live.
Doing it live.
Well, yeah. Well, back for another episode. And what's been going on in y'all's lives since last week, Jason and Sean?
Since last week, in my life has just been rolling along like a giant river full of logs that have been recently cut down. Yeah.
Man, I already tuned out and I felt bad. What were we talking about?
That's my life.
He was trying to freestyle a poem. It felt like, and it just didn't.
Oh.
It
didn't work. It failed. You only get better with failure, right?
Speaking of poetry, though, you are very good at poetry and writing in general. I don't know if I ever had a chance to tell you that, but I'd like to do it in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. He's blushing. Did you see that? I made him blush, Marcus.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Sean, what have you been up to? You're back from Italy, of course.
I'm back from Italy. And after Italy, I decided I got to get into a program, like the gym and the whole thing. So me and my lovely lady, we went to the gym today. We've been going every day. And I found out there's something that really annoys me, and I thought I would share it with the group.
Okay.
And maybe you guys could we could workshop it. So we go to this little gym, and there's, it's pretty small, and you get these older couples that came in. And today, this older couple came in. They're probably, when I say older, they're like in their mid 60s. And I'm working out, and I hear this guy just going, and he's just humming, and he's nothing melodic. He's just humming. And it's just one of those things that once I zoomed in on it and realized he wasn't going to stop, it was driving me crazy. And then I see his wife. So I'm like, I got to get away from this guy because I'm getting agitated and irritated. So I'll just go to the other side of the gym where his wife is. And guess what? She's doing the same thing. And both these two are like circling around the gym, just like, Now, she's got somewhat of an excuse because I can see the ear pods in her ear. So it's like she's listening to a song and trying to hum along, and she's not getting any kind of note that we've ever heard in Western civilization. But this guy, her husband, on the other hand, he doesn't have any pods in, so he's just humming randomly. And
his heart song just annoyed you.
His heart song annoyed me. Thank you. I think you nailed it. So anyways, I'm excited to be back at the gym, but this part, I got to figure out how to work through it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you should watch the movie Happy Feet and be reminded that everyone has a heart song.
Okay. That's feet as an F-E-E-T, right?
Yeah.
Because I was not having a happy F-E-A-T today. Okay. Happy Feet. All right. That's what the doctor ordered. Okay.
First, it's a movie with a brilliant first 15 minutes, and they didn't know where to take the rest of the movie, so it's awful. But first 15 minutes is great.
Can I just want to, the idea I had was to fight back and hum louder a worse tune and just see what the reaction would be. But then I feel like then I'm starting a war in the gym.
Yeah.
What say you on that idea?
Yeah, I would just put my headphones in and ignore them.
Okay.
Let them be happy.
Okay.
I know you're from
Just,
California, so
Ah,
it's
man.
hard for you.
Everyone's, by the way, in California, just so everybody is clear, everyone is faking their happiness. No one is really happy. California is filled with some of those miserable people. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's another topic for next week.
Another topic for next week.
Sorry to be so distracted. I'm trying to share the podcast on the different social media platforms because even though I found that even though it posts automatically, unless it's shared, it doesn't really go into people's feeds. It just exists on the page. So, but
All
that's
right.
something you have to do after, which is really annoying. And it's so
I'm just
y'all guys
if
talk
there
amongst
is-
yourself.
If
I'm
there
just
is
grateful
anyone
we
in
have
the
you.
chat, if there is anyone in the chat, you can let us know by letting us know you're here. And if you've got questions or comments or criticisms of hummers, then add it in there. We want to hear it.
It could just be that Jeremy Boring is just deranked on all social media posts every time you
Oh.
type.
Yeah, it could be. It could
Oh
be.
gosh.
What
Daily
an
Wire.
Daily
an
Wire.
unfortunate- What an
Melting down
unfortunate
before our
name, by the
eyes.
way. I don't want to get too shallow, but I will for just a minute. That's an unfortunate last name. Hi, I'm Sean Drab. This is my buddy Jeremy Boring, and this is
Well, it gets even more unfortunate because he's stepping down as the CEO and heading to head up creative at the Daily Wire. So, which makes it even more unfortunate for the head of creative last name to be called Boring.
If I wrote that into a script, nobody would believe it.
No, there we go. This
Names
is a
like that,
comedy.
yeah.
That's a fake name. Nobody would ever have that kind of name for the head of creative. You just call it Boring. That's like that's what I would think of, like if Norm Macdonald was making fun of the executive who fired him from the Weekend Update.
Yeah,
He would call him Executive Boring.
yeah.
Mr.
Like
Boring.
it's that kind of story. It's that kind of story. But he did step down. And what do you guys think? Good move, bad move for him to step down and move to creative?
Well, I think.
Do you think it's a sign of things going well that he's?
I think it's an unfortunate move to move him to creative, because he is such a controlling person, and you need more free. Allegedly.
Good
You need more
insert.
freedom in creative, and I'm worried that the Daily Wire is going to end up with less freedom in creative, because I want them to be successful. We need more conservatives successfully navigating the movies and television, and I'm worried that's not going to help.
I want him to be successful too. I just wonder, and this isn't so much a jab at the Daily Wire, but is anybody that's at the top spot of a conservative political organization being moved to creative a promotion or a demotion in those circles? Because I can't imagine. I can't imagine that is like I just don't think in any. This is just my opinion based on from what I've heard with every conservative political organization, that I just don't imagine that the impression is being moved away from the top spot of politics to creative is a promotion. Just because of how conservatives view entertainment and arts and media in general, it feels like a demotion, more so. And so,
Yeah,
Sean, what do you think?
That's a good point.
Okay. I think there's been a lot of people talking about this. Ian Carroll went on a big thing about it. And I think what I learned is we all got to exercise a little bit of discipline. There's so much speculation. There's things I've always heard about the company, and then I kind of want to talk about it. And then I've heard other people, and then I kind of stop myself, and I want to get better at not judging and not making any statements about it, because I'm not in that company and I don't really
Right.
know.
It's
But
a massive company.
it's a massive
There's
company,
a
but
lot of stuff.
yeah, the thing that I think's important is that it is great to have a company like that around. I think they've had great success. They've, you look at Matt Walsh and what he's done. I really support that. I think Matt is just incredibly talented. I think Ben is really talented. However, I would say to Ben, and I say this super respectfully, I appreciate you that you did that rap video with Tom McDonald, but I don't think you should do another one. And Ben, I do love you. I think you're an awesome dude, but only one rap video with Tom.
What about who did it better, Roseanne or Ben Shapiro?
Well, I haven't seen the Roseanne one. We might have to pull those up on today's podcast and just maybe little 10-second snippets. But I would love to pull a 10-second snippet of the Tom McDonald rap. I want to commend him for the boldness in doing it, but it's kind of like, oh man, there's some cringe. But on Daily Wire, I think one of the things, and I think this is a good cautionary tale for us, but also I'm not too worried about Lord TV. But when you become big, it's hard to keep the ego in check and things get out of hand. And I see it happen. And I feel that was the feeling I got. We went to their party at AmFest. It was super cool. It was great vibe, people handing out cigars. But I just got this sense of like, oh man.
That party was amazing though.
It was amazing.
We were there. We were both
great.
there. It was really great. The people there were great.
Super nice.
We met Ian Crossland, just really cool. And we got to smoke some Mayflower cigars, which
were great.
Are incredible. By the way, I was completely blown away because usually like celebrity cigars are like celebrity whiskey. It's like, it's just, it's whatever was left over that didn't pass inspection for the brand label. They give to a celebrity to put their name on it. But the Mayflower cigars were actually really great.
Really good. They were really good. So that was a great event. But what I was going to say is just, you have to keep yourself in check. And I imagine that gets difficult. You got a lot of egos. You've got a lot of money. Things are happening. I mean, just the Matt Walsh films. I mean, those were milestones in terms of what they did in box office. They really blew away expectations. So I think that's always difficult for a celebrity or a company. How do you keep yourself in check? And the feeling I get sometimes with companies like that is they get big, they get a little bit maybe over their skis, and they also maybe have not mastered the art of truly nurturing and supporting their artists and more like commoditizing them, and that ends up alienating them. And you've seen some great artists that were on their roster just say, hey, I'm going to go do my own thing. And I have to wonder how much of that was triggered by like them just not feeling like a part of a family and supported properly. I don't know.
Well, I think what it is, and this is consistent with any organization, it would be true of us too. Like if we got $100 million investment from, some gas and oil guys, suddenly we have $100 million to spend on movies and TV shows. The first instinct is we should do a $50 million project, or we should do a $20 million project. And I think that, entertainment is the only industry I feel like that is, so we have like Elon Musk, and he's doing Doge, and he's reducing costs. He's reducing the size of government. He's doing that with space travel. He's reducing costs, making rockets reusable, and Tesla as well, increase the manufacturing, reduce the costs. That's how it operates. But then when it comes to entertainment, it's like, well, if we want to compete with Hollywood, we got to spend more money than they do. And it's the very first instinct. I mean, we've been told that, countless times that, in order for us to do what we want to do, we'll need hundreds of millions of dollars. And we've done all of that stuff with far less already. So I think like the instinct is, with it's weird with entertainment. I don't know. Do you think it's, I think it's partly because I think it's easy to consider a movie or a TV show if it's an act of political propaganda, or in the faith-based space where it's an evangelistic track. let's just spend as much money and get as much news and press from something, so that generates, Daily Wire is a news organization that generates news, and then that is what defines as being successful. But honestly, I can barely remember any of the original Daily Wire films outside of Matt Walsh's stuff. And I think there's a reason Matt Walsh did really well. I think part of that is because you can't, one, it's because it is in the news political commentary vein that Daily Wire is good at. And so documentaries, that's the only thing conservatives do well or have put a lot of time and attention to that tends to succeed in that. But also, I also think that the Matt Walsh documentary, the reason it did well is because those things are improvised and there's no script writing, there's no bureaucracy rewriting stuff. And I think when you have $100 million at play, you get a lot of bureaucracy really fast that makes creative decisions that just tie things down, just like the government just ties things down. And so you actually lose a lot of that creative impact that you would get because everything's through bureaucratic processes. Just, like I said, it's just like a big government. Big government can't move quick. And a creative set has to be able to move really fast. Improv can do that, though. It has to be able to do that, right? So I think that's why you see the success of like Matt Walsh, who also got to start doing like morning talk radio, right? Like Breakfast Club style talk radio, and which is all improv all day. So like that's really where Matt Walsh came from. And sometimes I've said that Matt Walsh got his start at Second City doing improv, but that is another Matt Walsh.
Oh, really?
It is. And if you Google the Matt Walsh that did Second City Improv, you know exactly who it is, but you didn't know his name was Matt Walsh.
Oh, okay.
You'll recognize his face. I'll pull it up. You guys talk. I want to.
I think
I'm not talking about that Matt Walsh.
I think there's more to the story though on Matt Walsh and Am I a Racist? There's more to that story. I don't think it's just talent and the fact it was really high quality. Something else was going on behind the scenes because the fact that they were in over, I think, almost 1,600 theaters in the US is unbelievable. Yeah. And I don't think that they got that just because they showed them a screener and said, hey, look, this is a great film. Something else was going on. And I have to imagine there was some money behind that because that was the first time in years that anything remotely centrist or conservative leaning got that kind of theatrical release. And that's what got him up to that, I think at one point, 14 million domestic.
Yeah.
See, Jason?
That man.
You know exactly.
Oh, that guy.
That guy.
You didn't know his name was Matt Walsh. He's
that's funny.
With Upright Citizens Brigade, not Second
Upright
City.
Citizens Brigade.
Yeah, that guy's everywhere.
So, that guy is also a very funny actor.
Yeah, I think who knows how long I said that Matt Walsh got his start doing improv comedy.
I've said that too because
it was only because somebody told me that because I think there was a lot of confusion about that.
Yeah,
but no, he got to start doing breakfast talk radio.
Yeah. I knew about the talk radio. I just assumed it was the same Matt Walsh, but good for that.
Well, they're both very talented, but Daily Wire Matt Walsh is comedic. The timing, his comedic genius, especially physical comedy. People don't talk much about physical comedy anymore, but he had some great physical comedy in that piece. He's good. He's really good. So I want to compliment you, Matt, since you're probably watching this or listening to this podcast. And I also want to compliment Skyraider, who came up with some good companion names because I was struggling there for a minute. So I'm now going to hire Skyraider as my new writer. Jeremy Boring, John Monotonous, Jim Snooze. I like that. Jim Snooze, Jeff Yawn, and Jay Predictable. Great names, Skyraider.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that's good.
Jim Snooze is pretty rad. I like that.
Should I hit you guys with today's trivia question?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So here it is. We all know that the first video to play on MTV was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. Common knowledge. I think everybody knows that. But the question today is, what was the first video to play at the VH1 launch? When VH1 launched, what was the first video they played?
God,
How would you define MTV versus VH1? Their brands are different.
Their brands
so
are
what
different.
was MTV going for and VH1 going for in terms of audience?
I think VH1 was going for an older audience.
35 and over, and MTV was like 12 to 24.
Yeah,
Target.
that's
Okay.
how I would define it. Yeah.
So VH1's music was around that time, probably what, 70s?
No, well,
Oh,
the
or it was
music,
like 80s. 80s?
it was 80s, but it was like you're going to see Lionel Richie on VH1 and you're going to see Quiet Riot on MTV.
Okay, got it. So it was like current older audience.
Yeah, it was like
not
adult alternative music.
Yeah, it was like radio. Exactly. They treated like MTV would have been adult contemporary, adult. What was it? The other adult alternative, and then they would be like soft rock. I forget the other radio term. Sorry, radio people, for stumbling on this one. But they were
yacht rock.
Yacht rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get some Christopher Cross on.
Another we just can't escape yacht rock on this podcast.
I know.
Hey, going back to your trivia question, I like how you pointed out the Buggles, because that's one of those ones I feel like everyone asks that thinking they're going to be clever at a dinner party. Hey, what was the first video on MTV? It's like, oh my God, dude, everybody knows the answer to that. Come on.
The Buggles.
The Buggles, Trevor Horn. Come on. I have some Trevor Horn trivia, but I don't want to rain on your. We got to focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, I remember
Victor,
pop up. What was the? I remember pop up video on VH1. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Victor's right. Yeah, VH1 had Enya on repeat. That's a good point. Oh my God, that Enya! All of a sudden I just got it in my head, and I'm not gonna be able to. It's earwormed. Oh no.
Yeah. And then you had the box, which lasted like 18 months or something. I don't know, maybe it was longer. It felt like it came and went in no time.
Hey, what was the behind the scenes show with VH1? That was pretty good too, wasn't it? Didn't they have
behind the music?
Behind the music?
You had behind the music, and then you had the Where Are They Now show, which was one of my favorites on VH1.
Yeah, Kaja Gugu. That was my favorite.
Okay.
Okay. Look at Marcus. Okay, let's change the subject.
I don't know who that is. No, I don't know who that is. Jaja Gugu?
Hey, put your Google goggles on and look it up.
I don't know if I want to.
You could learn something. You could learn something.
Okay. Do you have any mail for us today?
I do. This one is from my postmaster. Dear Sean, as long as the administration keeps firing all of us, you will not be getting mail. Please do what you can to influence the powers that be, and we will continue service. In the meantime, go. I can't read the rest of it. Go something yourself.
You're gonna have to rely on FedEx now. You know?
Yeah, I am gonna rely
Victor
on
knows
FedEx.
Kaja Gugu.
Victor, thank you.
Too shy.
Marcus is too shy. Nice one, Victor. I like Victor. Victor knows what's going on. Thanks, Victor. That's great. So first video. This is a good one. It's a good question. We'll reveal the answer after these messages.
You got to hang around to the end.
You got to hang around. Hey, did we? Are we bored on boring yet, or is there more to unpack? Because I feel like there's a little more to unpack on that.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Continue to unpack it. I could go this route all day. So.
Okay. So here's a thought. Ian Carroll came out with a video in his it's about 8-minute X on his hot take on what happened. And at first I listened to it. I was like, wow, Ian's great. He speaks well. It seems like he really knows what's going on. He's articulate. He seems measured and kind of restrained. He's not too over the top. And I was kind of buying into it. And he had a whole, like, I heard through this person and I've got this information. But he explained a whole story about, and I won't give away the story so that you can have some Easter eggs to go find after this podcast. But he explains the whole story about this thing between Tim Pool and the Daily Wire, and it's a pretty bold claim. And I was like, oh, it sounds kind of like a real thing, like it probably happened. And then Tim came out with his response, which was like, no, none of that's true. That is completely false. And Tim was very gracious and kind about it. He didn't throw Ian under the bus, but it just got me thinking about the feeling it is to be on the receiving end when someone uses a media platform to tell a story and spread a rumor, and how reckless that is. And it just got me really thinking about how important, even when we're riffing, that we exercise restraint and discipline, and that, it's easy to do,
Ian probably gets a lot of tips.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to distinguish like what's legitimate and what's not, and what he's getting and whatever. And he's probably getting, so I'm sure some of those tips are straight from the source that heard wrong. The source is wrong, even though they were there, they interpret wrong. It becomes a game of telephone. And then by the time Ian gets it out to the public, it's like, that's not what happened at all. So I completely understand that. I think, though, if Daily Wire is to succeed, they really need to focus on independent content creators, entertainment creators, not content creators would be YouTube, social media, that sort of stuff. I think they do a really good job of that in general, with their own people. But when you talk about like how would Daily Wire, now that Jeremy's in charge completely of creative, what should he do? And I think he should really call us at FolkLOOR and let us connect them with some really great independent artists.
Hey, we just got done making fun of your name, but give us a call. Let's hang out.
Hey, man. Hey, he's in entertainment.
Yeah,
he
should understand. He understands.
He should get it.
Don't take it personal, Jeremy.
I do it for
Mr.
the views,
Boring.
Jeremy. I do it for the views.
Thank you, Mr. Boring.
Yeah.
Jason and Marcus will see you now.
Jason, what do you think? Because I feel like that's the thing that's missing. Let me just finish this one thought. Let's come back to me. So I was looking at this tweet the other day, and it showed like basically like a grid of like the amount of total audience of like Charlie Kirk was in there, Turning Point was in there, but then you had like Matt Walsh and Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk, of course, and his influence. And but the commentary on it was that the conservative influencers basically share and retweet their own approved influencers, so that it just becomes this basically echo chamber. Yeah, echo chamber. So there's not a lot of independent original thought. And my thought is, if the conservatives don't figure this out and how to solve this problem of incubating and bringing forth new talent, because we can look at the success of someone like I say success, and then she had success. Forgot her name. Brett
Cooper.
Brett Cooper. Yeah, Brett Cooper from the Daily Wire. Just a younger, new voice comes on, crushes it at the Daily Wire, crushing it now. She's crushing it now. And so like that, by having that thing that can constantly cycle in and out new talent, even talent no one's ever heard of before, being able to find, the guys who are really talented. Me and Jason, we talk about this all the time about like, how do we find the guys who don't have a big audience that no one's heard of, but are incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, at least in the conservative, they conflate those two as the same thing. Like big audience means you're talented. It's not always the case, especially on social media, because the rules for being really good at, say, storytelling or doing animated storytelling, let's say like Barely Biblical, isn't necessarily the same rules to get successful on social media. It's completely different skills, two completely different skill sets. And so that, I think, is like really what's important for any conservative streaming entertainment platform right now. The one that's going to succeed is the one that goes after the independent artists the best. And I'm biased to FolkLOOR. FolkLOOR is going to be the one that does that. So.
Well, yeah, I just watched the new Velvet Underground documentary on Apple Plus, which is incredibly well done as a documentary. It's really a really well made documentary. But it reminded me where leftism really came from in our country. The mental illness version of leftism that we see right now. Right. It was. It is. It was born out of an artist commune called The Factory with Andy Warhol in New York. The Velvet Underground and Andy Warhol are the most famous names that came out of it, but a lot of artists came out of it, and it was, you know, where the whole trans movement as a movement started right there, and I mean, if you want to know, like, I think we mistakenly try to connect the Democratic Party with the hippies of California, and then we don't understand why they're the way they are now, because really it comes out of that movement in New York, just the idea that a person is who they declare themselves to be, and all that, the chaos and the.
Well, and what's the name of that documentary? Velvet Underground?
The Velvet Underground, yeah.
What's it about?
It's about the band, the Velvet Underground, and Lou Reed.
I guess I should have known that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a trick question.
I feel like that was a tell. But.
Well, Andy Warhol had an artist commune called The Factory in New York. That's really what it's about. The Velvet Underground and Andy Warhol are the only real success stories, other than the fact that they affected an entire generation of artists in the late 80s and early 90s that then brought this kind of leftism to the masses.
Yeah.
But what happened was some people saw it and invested in it and did the work to get it distributed. And I mean, Lou Reed was talented. He just was awful.
He really was. He's really not. Yeah, he's not a great singer. He's a pretty. He was not a great
singer. He's not a, it wasn't. He wasn't talented at. He was a talented. I mean, he was the kind of person that everybody couldn't stop looking at. I guess that was his talent, and that's why they invested in him. Because you when he's up on stage, everybody couldn't stop looking at him, but they wouldn't even clap when he finished singing because they didn't know what to do with it.
Wouldn't you agree with this statement that Velvet Underground was probably the first examples of a band that became popular because someone told you that they were cool?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, so a whole New York
scene, it was like art, right? It's the same thing with art. Like, you could have these 10 great artists, but this cool group told you that this is the cool artist, and now so therefore it is.
Right.
And Velvet Underground was a perfect marriage of like Quaalude parties and free sex and this, pop culture recycled art, which again, even with Andy Warhol, I mean, from a talent standpoint, I mean, he's just copy pasting pop art.
No, yeah.
And it was
Andy Warhol was he was well branded. He wasn't good at art.
Exactly. Yeah. And the Velvet Underground were well branded and not good at art.
Right. But they were true believers in a radical revolutionary leftism, and people that said, "I want the country to move that way," said, well, we're gonna put some money into these artists, and then when they're young, and they were thinking long term about the Cultural Revolution, and but conservatives don't do that. We ride on the tail end of every wave, and what we need to do is actually identify really talented artists that want to build and tell good stories that actually build something, and invest in when they're young, and let them learn,
Can I add to that list? You said conservatives. Can I also add just normal people?
Yes,
Just
and
Just normal people. Just normal people.
We got to come up with an acronym: non-mentally ill people. NIMIP.
Yeah, but it's really, I mean, when you look at the whole grunge movement, so much of that grows out of groups of kids listening to the Velvet Underground and then rebelling. You know, it's so a lot of the influence is far beyond what it should have been, but and like Bob Dylan came in, he bought the factory and shut it down because he was so opposed to what they were trying to do.
Bob Dylan was?
Yeah. So he
Really?
was like, we
I
can't
didn't know
have
that
this.
story.
So he bought it. Yeah, this is the real reason that everybody was revolting against him, was because he just said this whole thing is awful. We've got to shut it down, and he had the money to shut it down, and he did.
What a super cool. What a jerk.
Yeah, he's a stud.
But super cool. But I don't. Truth be told, I'm not a big Bob Dylan fan either. I'm not a big fan of anything from that era. Now that I think about it, that's not very nice.
but I mean, you think about like Lou Reed's most famous song, "The Wild Side." That's the first time that transsexual anything was put forward on the national stage.
Yeah, and the second time I think was the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, you're right.
It's funny, no one mentions that. They say, "Oh, there's no representation." Are you kidding? That was one of the biggest. That is one of the biggest. That's a good trivia. What's the total domestic gross on that film? That thing was a massive hit, and the lead was a trans person.
But that all grew out of that same New York scene.
Totally.
Yeah. So going to your point,
54, the whole thing. So the whole point is, I think conservatives need to think longer term about art and say, where are the young people making the kind of art that is building a world we want to see?
And where do you find them? Right. That's a question I think me and Jason try to ask and answer when we travel, like when we're walking through the streets of New York City or in downtown Nashville or Franklin, Tennessee, wherever we go. And, I think one of the places that we found them a lot has been the cigar lounges. I think there's, the kids of the 70s smoked weed, right? Like that was the cool hip thing to do. And now the generation coming up now is going, nah, man, weed destroyed my parents. I don't want to do weed. And so nicotine has become really cool, right? Like that's the hype thing now, whether it's, whether it's Zen or, like Alps or whatever. Right. So like that's the sort of thing. And so I think when we first started doing lore, we would go to these Christian film festivals. We just wanted to be different. But we didn't want to be like rebellious, like we didn't want to go, hey, weed outside, guys, for all the kids. So what we did was let's just get cigars and whiskey. So we got cigars and whiskey. We would just start setting up outside these Christian film festivals at night. And me and you, we'd stay up like 3 a.m. smoking cigars with these guys. We found really there were just two kinds of people, or three. There were people that did smoke and drink with us. There were people that didn't smoke and drink but hung out with us, and then there were the people that didn't want to be seen with us. And I think the good thing was that kept that last option away from us. But it also, there was so much value to that for us as we, and still is. But when you're sitting down with an artist and you're smoking a cigar with them, what is it you say about 2 cigars, Jason?
Yeah, I just call it the 2 cigar rule. Is that a lot of people sit down and smoke a cigar with you. If they'll light a second cigar with you, you have a friend. You've won a trust.
Nice.
Because
I think our band should sing about that.
Yeah, I think so. And but it's because it's a get to know you tool, right? It's a conversation tool. As you sit and smoke a cigar, you get to have long conversations and really find out, the number of times I say, oh, hey, what are you pitching? What are you working on? And an artist said, oh, this is what I'm pitching. And I say, okay, but what do you wish you were pitching?
Yeah,
It's
that's right.
It's the peace pipe. It's a
exactly.
rite of passage. It's a peace pipe. It's
it's
a conversation starter.
Yeah, and then
but I think
you get to the
as
story they really want to be pitching, and then you find gold.
Yeah, I think a lot of people come to Christian film festivals with movies that they know they can sell to the people at the distributors that routinely go to those events, but they're not necessarily good ideas. They're just part of the same system of films that just can get deals.
Yeah,
and
marketable ideas.
Yeah, I hate to say marketable. I mean, they're marketable to a very specific audience.
That's what they're thinking when they make.
Yeah. And so compare that to, Tim Ingle coming to us with Barely Biblical with a decapitated teddy bear on a napkin, and just on a napkin, and saying, "Dude, I didn't know you guys were going to be here. You're the only ones that'll probably like this idea," and we loved it. And so. The other thing too, I think, is like one of the great things about it, and this is kind of what you're saying is, when you smoke a cigar with them, you're making a time commitment, right? If I light up a cigar with you, you're getting an hour.
That's a good point. You're already,
you know what I mean?
The clock has started. Yeah.
Yeah, you're at least getting an hour. If we go to the second one, you're getting 2. But
if you say, hey, Sean, let's do a shot. Like, we could literally go do the shot, and I'm like, see ya.
Yeah, or a Zoom meeting. Right, like a Zoom meeting can end in like 5 to 10 minutes. You could do 10 minutes. I've done those, and you're just like, "Wow, that was fast."
This is a good.
Well,
you guys need to write this. I was just say, you guys need to write this down. This is a good, just observation. The Zen of cigars,
Well, no, it's super important because I think we've lost it. Michael Knowles was trying to bring it back. He understands it very well, I think, too. But but it's also one of these places too. When you go to a cigar lounge, me and Jason first off, it's cheaper to run a tab all day at a cigar lounge than it is to rent an office from like the Hilton, or right, like to rent some sort of WeWork office for the day or whatever, right? So, you run up a tab of $200 or $300 at a cigar lounge for a day, versus paying $500 to $1,000 for just a plain white walled office. It just doesn't make any sense. And at least there's drinks, and you can DoorDash food there, and you just have a good time. And but also, what I have found most rewarding about the cigar lounges me and Jason have been to are the people that we meet there by happenstance or accident. There's several people we met by accident there. We were in Franklin, Tennessee, and there were people that worked on major Christian film projects.
That's the headquarters. That's headquarters of Daily Wire.
That's right. That's right, and that's where they all show up. We hung out with Randy Miracle there, and just really, really talented people, and you just go to this lounge, and they're saying hi to all their friends, and they're all, you would all know who they are, and they're just there hanging out and stuff. So it's one of the only places I think that anybody can go to and meet people without the class system that is usually established in an office complex, right? Where you got the secretary, and the secretary's kind of doing the gatekeeping to make sure you're on the guy's schedule. But when you come to a lounge, it's now smoking a cigar. You ask, hey, what are you smoking, and what do you do? And you're automatically doing that. So and then finally, one more thing, and I'm writing a Substack about this. That's why it's all fresh in my head. But the other thing too, I think is really important when it comes to cigar lounges. Stories don't start top down. Most stories don't start in an executive environment, right? Severance didn't start that way. Severance was written over several years by one guy who's just writing the script. And that's really where stories start. So when you have two guys or two artists, they're hanging out in a cigar lounge and they're kind of running ideas, or they say a joke and you go, oh man, that'd be a really great movie. And then, they start working on it, and then suddenly it becomes a movie. So it's almost like cigar lounges are the place. I really believe this. Cigar lounges are the place where the independent artists and storytellers for the next generation are hanging out now. So 21 and up, they're making content. They're either already making content, or they're talking about content, or trying to network and get to know people. That is where I think a lot of I think 20, 30 years from now, when we look back and we look at CBGBs, we look at the Comedy Store, right? Like all these little areas where major moments happened. I think one day there's going to be a cigar lounge. You're going to go, out of that cigar lounge, this music took off, or this poetry, or this film, independent filmmakers.
It's going to be your factory, Moscow, Idaho. Your cigar,
yeah.
The new factory.
Yeah, so the Refuge Cigar Lounge is the lounge I'm building, where it actually opens Monday at 4:00 for regular hours, 4 p.m. to 9, Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock on Fridays and Saturday. But one of the things I'm really excited about is, one, Jason isn't that far away. So like FolkLOOR has a home base for artists to come in, to hang out, just to be able to just hang out. Like what I like it when artists don't feel like they're working when they're hanging out with us, and they can just be themselves, because I think that's really where the stories, they're really how you really capture the true stories they want to tell, is when they're themselves. So having that, but also having a place to do business at, have Jason come, and you're going to come as well. And
I'm going to come I'm going to ask Gavin Newsom, that's our governor,
to
reappropriate those billions of dollars and build the train from California to Moscow, Idaho. So I'm going to make an economic impact report, send it up the ladder to Sacramento, and I think we should have it done.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds great. So, Jason, why don't you give us a trivia answer?
All right, trivia answer. So the question was, we all know what the first video to play on MTV was. Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. But what was the first video to play on VH1 at launch? So that's the question. And here's the answer.
Can we guess? Can Marcus and I guess? Yeah. I want to do two guesses. Marcus, you go first.
Man, I was going to say like something from Cher.
Ooh, that's a good guess.
She's terrible.
Oh my that wasn't the question.
Oh, I know, but
that's the most VH1 answer you could give.
That is so VH. That's so VH1. That's VH100. What's your second guess? What's your second guess?
Tim guessed, I Want My MTV.
Oh, by Dire Straits. That's a funny answer. Yeah. That's a funny answer, Tim. And by the way, Jake, better late than never. It's good to have you. Good to have you back in the mix, Jake. So what's your second guess, Marcus?
It would be a band, but I don't have one. I would say Beach Boys.
Good guess. I mean, if it was,
it could be actually.
Yeah,
that one corny song they did. Yeah, they did a bunch of them. You make it that one. Yeah,
yeah.
That's one of the top 10 worst songs ever.
Yeah, the Beach Boys had a #1 hit in 3 different decades because of that song. They had the 60s, then the early 70s, and then they kind of disappeared, and then all of a sudden they come back with Kokomo with a #1 hit. So
that song's almost as bad as "Dude Walks Like a Lady" by Aerosmith, and almost as bad as I'm going to make a lot of people unhappy, but "Jump Around." That song, that is one of the worst.
Crisscross.
No. Totally
Yeah,
dropped.
the Irish.
Yes.
rapper.
That I'm
But,
I'm
yeah,
glad I
that's gonna make
forgot
a
the
lot of
name.
people mad, but I love
Yeah,
that song. But I was in,
I
you
made
know,
you
that's
mad.
like
I'm
8th grade
sorry.
dance for me. Like at the 8th grade dance.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I made you mad because I didn't want to lose our friendship.
I mean,
over
it's just I don't know if it's a good song or not.
House
It's
of Pain.
very nostalgic
Thank you,
for me.
Victor. I don't know why I
House of
blinked on
Pain.
that.
Yeah, there we go.
Um,
But Lionel Richie's "Hello" from Victor. That's a good guess too. Sean, you
that
have a
was
guess?
okay. My guess was Lionel Richie's "Hello," and my second guess was "Aha." Take on Me.
Oh, also a good guess.
Yeah. So what is it?
All good guesses. All very VH1. But you're all wrong.
Drum roll.
It is Marvin Gaye singing the Star Spangled Banner.
What?
Who would have said?
Never.
They tried to do.
Followed by Diana Ross singing a tribute to Marvin Gaye, "Missing You." So VH1 launched right after Marvin Gaye died. And so they opened with a Marvin Gaye tribute.
That makes a lot more
sense.
sense.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot
I
of
wouldn't
sense.
have ever guessed that, but I did think it was fascinating when I first learned that. So
thank you, Intellectric, for telling us your favorite video. You're not alone. A lot of people like that video.
that is. That's a great music video.
Hey,
my
well,
favorite
that makes.
music video. Oh, go ahead.
What is it? What is it? What is your favorite?
My favorite music video is Lauryn Hill, the one where it's the 70s and the 90s at the same time. That's moves.
Sounds like a
brilliant.
bad drug trip.
My favorite music video is like the OK Go stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at you busting OK Go. That's Your street cred
treadmill thing.
Your street cred just like went way up.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah,
nice.
I just love it. All their stuff is amazing. Like the slow mo stuff they did. They used to the one where they did like the whole music video was shot in like 5 seconds, but in slow mo.
Yeah,
or something like that. It was just insane.
Next week, I want to show you my favorite music video by New Young Pony Club. It's so good. But that'll be next week because we didn't plan enough for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marcus, is our band downloaded and ready to go?
Yep, we're ready to go on that.
All right.
I guess I won't. I guess I'll pitch my ideas next week.
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Yeah, next week we'll start doing crazy pitches for content. But actually, Sean, I actually want to see that show, but we'll have to wait till next week to see it.
Okay. Are we? Let's listen to this whole song because sometimes we cut it short.
The band made it. It's called Wired and Ablaze.
Daily Wire reference.
Electric chaos can't pull away. We're dancing in the smoke till the break of day. VH1 just launched the show, grooving to rhythms we didn't even know. Cigars are burning, let the smoke spin tight.
Nice.
Easy and love under soft porch lights.
Ooh, smooth writing there, huh? These guys really worked overtime. Let's hear the next verse.
Family dinners, jambalaya delight. Stories round the table last all night. The second cigar, like a midnight spell, wraps you up in mystery oh so well. Yeah. Independent movies on the strip. Dreams so big they make your senses flip. Hey, too shy to smile, can't play the scene. Caught in the bright lights of a silver dream. Oh yeah, VH1 just launched the show.
Yeah. I feel like our band gets better every week. It's like they get an upgrade or something.
They're getting really good. Are we paying them more? What did you work out a new contract deal? Wow.
Jason said, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I would love to get a portion of the publishing on this, just if I can. Wait.
What's the genre they did this in, Jason?
This is 70s deep funk.
Wait, we got a whole verse. Let's hear this.
In the funkadelic wild, they hypnotize.
Nailed it.
Now we got a solo.
Guitar solo.
Wow.
Oh no, that's an organ solo.
I think that's a keytar.
Yeah, that is. You're right.
Doesn't it sound like a keytar?
That sounds like a guitar.
Wow. You know what? Those guys, kudos to those guys. They give them 2 cigars for that one.
I think so. Killing it every week.
Man, they're so talented, and they never push back. I noticed ever. A lot of
Ever.
bands are like, "No, there's no way. We don't do modern funk. We don't do bluegrass. We don't do Norwegian death metal." These guys say yes to everything we ask.
Everything.
We need more like that. That's nice.
More content. More entertainment.
Wow, what a this is this.
By the way, we're up to at least on this, we're up to 200 viewers. That's double than what we usually get by the time we end. So,
All right.
good show. Yeah,
Great.
thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to like and share. Be with us. Return every Thursdays for the live show, and yeah, it's great to have you guys. And anything else anyone want to add? Oh, be sure to subscribe to Lore TV. Join. And be able to fund independent artists, movies, and TV shows that you've always wanted to see, but no one would ever let you. So, anything else?
No, have a good week.
Have a good
All right,
week.
guys. See you.